Hello and welcome to Verbling. Hi there, I'm teacher Oakley. Today we are going to be looking at the present perfect continuous tense in this particular class. Actually, at this time slot today, the next day, the following day, we're going to be looking at perfect continuous tenses, present, past, and future. Let's start off with the present. We will learn about this specific verb tense by looking at how it's formed. And then we're going to look at a couple of uses, and you, the students, will be able to practice forming your own sentences corresponding following that use, which we will discuss. We'll look at examples, some regular similarities in the way that sentences are constructed. You guys will practice, and I will help you out, correcting any problems. We'll also be looking at other related important information about continuous tenses and adverbs and so forth that are related to using this verb tense properly. And finally, we'll look at the passive form. In any case, come on in and join me. We'll get started looking at how to use the present perfect continuous tense. Okay, we can begin because Mustafa is in the house. Hello, hi Mustafa.
Hello,
Good morning.
teacher. Good morning.
Good morning. How's your Monday morning?
It's been good. Afternoon. So far, so good.
So
How
far,
is
so
that?
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Me too. I could say exactly the same thing. So far, so good. All right.
Yeah. We
Uh,
must be positive always.
well, we can try our best, right? Okay. I'm sure we'll have others joining us. Come on in.
I like your blue shirt.
You like my what?
Blue shirt.
My new shirt?
Blue shirt.
Blue shirt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife bought it for me like a week or two ago. Thank you. I'll tell her you said so.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the class, Frank.
Yes,
Hi, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking me. And you?
I'm doing just great. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen. Anybody else wants to join the class? Come on in. Don't worry about it. Okay, great. Mark is with us. Hello, Mark. How are you today? Hi, Mark.
Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm fine. Thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Welcome to the class. Hello. Let me also greet Zingyo. Hello, Zingyo.
Hi, teacher.
Hello. Hello. How are you? How are you?
I'm fine. Can you hear the echo from me?
Testing.
Testing.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Actually, do you want to fix that, or at the very least, mute yourself when you're not speaking?
Is it okay?
That's better. Thank you.
Mm.
Okay, gentlemen, let's get started. I'm going to do a screen share, and we'll start off looking at how we form this slightly more complex verb tense. All right, this is how you do it. Like the present perfect tense, you're going to use the auxiliary or helper verb has or have, depending on, of course, your subject noun. For example, he has, she has, it has, and I have, or the plurals. We have, they have, you have. Then, next, always the past participle of the verb to be, been, always, that doesn't change. And then the present participle of the verb, that is to say, the ing form. Okay, here's how it looks in sentences. First of all, a positive statement sentence. Subject noun is you here in our example. And then our verb construction, have been waiting. There it is. There's the present perfect continuous. You have been waiting here for 2 hours. Okay, that's it. In the question form, as always in English, you reverse or transpose the subject noun with the first auxiliary. The first auxiliary is very important in English grammar. The sentence construction, word order, has a lot to do with that first auxiliary. So in a question form, again, as in all verb tenses, the first auxiliary is transposed with the subject noun, so it would look like this. Have you been waiting? Notice the present perfect continuous tense here in bold. It's been split up by the subject noun. Have you been waiting here for 2 hours? Okay. And then finally, in the negative statement form, again, the first auxiliary is important because we're going to stick our not to show the negative following the first auxiliary. You have not been waiting here for 2 hours. Of course, in spoken English, it would be most common to hear haven't, the reduced or contracted form. It is possible to use the contracted form of you have. You've not been waiting here for 2 hours, but frankly, it's a little weird. Pretty much all the time, you're going to contract the auxiliary and not. Would be more common in natural spoken English. Okay, that's what it looks like. We are now going to look at the uses and some examples, and you guys are going to practice making sentences. Before we do so, let me quickly welcome Jeremy to the class. Hello, Jeremy. Welcome.
Hello, hello, teacher.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. All right. All right, let's do this crazy thing. All right, use number one. Of course, when we think of continuous or progressive, in some textbooks you will see it noted called a continuous tense. In others, you will see progressive. Same thing. Okay. Of course, when we think of continuous or progressive tenses, we should always be thinking about duration, actions that take time. So there we go. Our first use, straightforward. And to describe an action, we use present perfect continuous. To describe an action, we want to emphasize the duration or the fact that the action took time from sometime in the past, but it's not important when, up until the future. Okay. Very common, to make it even clearer for the listener or the reader, to use these little prepositional phrases or time phrases to emphasize or clarify the idea of duration. Very common to use these when you're using present perfect continuous. All right, let's look at some examples before we practice doing exactly this. They, subject noun, have been talking for the last hour. Obviously, have been talking in our little diagram is symbolized by this green line that starts and then continues till now. Pretty straightforward, really. She's been working for that company for 3 years. What have you been doing for the last 30 minutes? Okay, very good. Okay, James has been teaching at the university since June. And notice how it's very, very, again, super common to use these time phrases. We've been waiting here for 2 hours. Okay, some verbs like waiting, I mean, the meaning of the verb itself emphasizes duration, of course. So it's more, you know, really common to use it with a continuous tense. Now, you do have a choice. Now, here is an important thing to note about present perfect continuous tense. I could just use a regular present perfect. I have waited here for 2 hours. Okay. But I choose not to. Why? Let me tell you guys a story. Let me tell you a story. Okay, let me tell you a little Johnny story. Little Johnny is a naughty little boy. This isn't a dirty joke, so don't get your hopes up. But let me tell you a little story. Johnny's mother is in the kitchen, and little Johnny comes in, and he is covered from head to toe with dirt and mud. And he's got sticky stuff in his hair, and what a mess. His clothes are torn. Okay, little Johnny's mother is going to say to little Johnny, "What on earth have you been doing?" Have you been doing? She's going to use the present perfect continuous tense. Why? Because all she sees is the results. Johnny's a mess. She wants to know what is the action. She wants to emphasize the action. Okay. Well, alrighty then. The very next day, all of a sudden, kaspash! A rock comes flying in the window of the kitchen while Mom's inside making lunch. And little Johnny comes into the kitchen. Now, in this case, the mother's going to say, "Little Johnny, what have you done?" Because she can see the outcome. What happened, the result. She is more concerned with the broken window than the process of throwing a rock through the window. She already knows the process, so she doesn't care. That's not what she's going to emphasize. All right, so, okay, I think my little story hopefully illustrates to you guys how this works. It depends on the speaker whether they want to emphasize the action or they want to emphasize the result. It's in many, many, many cases, it's perfectly okay to use either present perfect or present perfect continuous tense, depending on what the speaker or writer wants to emphasize. Everybody like my little story? I hope so, because it's a story that I always remember. Sometimes even when I am writing, I will remember that story to help me clarify which verb tense I would prefer to use. Okay, let's try this out. This is very straightforward. I'm going to have you guys now practice making a sentence based on these examples, duration from past until now. Okay, let's give it a try. Mustafa, you were first in the class, so you may have the honor
Thank you.
of starting us off.
Yeah. My sentence. I have been studying English for over than a decade. Oh, sorry. For over. Oh yeah. For over than a decade.
Over Okay, I got no problem with your sentence at all. Perfect example of what we're trying to look at. Just your pronunciation. Decade.
Decade.
Yeah, more
But
relaxed.
teacher, but
Decade.
teacher, but teacher, this is hypothetical. Okay, not a decade. A decade.
Okay.
It's a long time.
Okay. Right. All right. Understood. You guys don't have to tell me the truth when you give me an example sentence. I could care less. I just want to hear you guys use the verb tense appropriately, and that is appropriate, Mustafa, so good job.
Thank you.
That's it right there. Frank, why don't you give it a try?
I have been making video for more than 10 years.
Okay. Okay, now as far as the verb tense goes, Frank, you're all good. Very good. You definitely have the concept here. Okay. The question is, though, I do have a question for you. This is kind of interesting, just your example. Should we say I have been making video or I've been making videos?
Making videos.
With an S? Okay. You know what, Frank? It's totally up to you. If you want to emphasize the fact that you've been making several different 1, 2, 3, A, B, C videos.
Movie. For
It doesn't matter. Videos is fine. Yeah, movies would be fine as well. That
so
doesn't
it
matter.
depends on what I want, is single or plural.
Well, no, you're not making a video. In this case, see, video is a weird word. My point is videos, 3 videos, can be countable. Or if I talk about video in general, video as a artistic endeavor, as a concept, I enjoy video. I enjoy the art form of video. I don't have to say videos. It becomes uncountable. So either way, in other words, Frank, it's totally up to you. You could say it either way.
Making video.
Either way. So that's fine. I just wanted to make that point because it's an interesting aspect to that sentence. But in regards to the verb tense, you're dead on. You're good. Okay. Mark, your turn.
Okay. I have been waiting for a class for 2 hours. I mean it.
You mean it. I told you don't have to be honest. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's it. You've got it. I've been waiting for class for 2 hours. Again, some verbs inherently in the meaning of the verb, you know, the whole idea of the verb is that it takes time, so it would be really common to use ing or continuous progressive or / progressive form. Yeah, that works. That's great. Okay, good job. Sorry for your long wait, Mark.
Okay.
Zingio, go ahead and show me what you got.
I have been teaching history for 13 years in a high school.
In
a high school.
In a high school?
Yeah.
Okay. In a high school. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's correct. All right. Yeah, no problem there. Yeah, that's great. Okay, pretty straightforward. All right, you guys, this is pretty straightforward, simple. Jeremy, you want to give this a try?
Okay. I would like to ask a question.
Yes.
For example, Mustafa said, I have been studying English for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still studying English.
Yes. For over a decade, this would still look like this this diagram of what we're trying to do. Yes, for over a decade does not imply that it's done. He still, notice the green line is still going, it still hits the present. It maybe could be moving forward into the future. Yes, this phrase.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. For over a decade is exactly like saying for more than 10 years. Actually, I just noticed that.
Okay.
These phrases mean exactly the same thing.
But what would be the, for example, if I said, if I use the present progressive when
Present.
because yeah, the present progressive, is that correct?
Yeah, present progressive or present continuous. Yeah. If you did that.
But for example, I am studying English since February.
Can't do that. You just can't do that. Because I am studying English since you said since February. Now you've locked yourself into this actual diagram. You're telling me when you started, okay, and you're obviously still doing it.
Okay.
So that
okay.
that means you have to use a perfect tense.
So it could be, I have been studying English since February.
That is correct. That is correct. Right.
But it's something in the past.
Yeah, but it's still continuing.
It's a statement in the past. Okay. Okay,
yes. Since is a telltale, Jeremy. If you use since, you're pretty much locked into using a perfect tense of some type. Present perfect or present perfect continuous. That's a subordinator that pretty much locks you in to that. Present continuous or present progressive, as you say, I can use it to talk about now, this second, or a more broader now. We could be having dinner together, Jeremy, and I could say, hey, you might say, oh, what's new, Oakley? Oh, I'm studying English now. I don't mean right now. Right now we're eating dinner. But I mean the broader now. You can use it that way. And then obviously you're talking about a little bit in the past and a little bit in the future as well, but you're talking about a more broad now. Okay? So that is possible. All right.
Okay. According to the rule, if something is carried out in the past.
Yeah. It's got to be
continue.
It's still got to have a relationship to now. That is the deal with present perfect or present perfect continuous tense.
Okay.
It has to. Notice that it's not same diagram here. Notice that the green line hasn't finished. It hasn't terminated back at the baseline. It's not over. All right. If
Okay. So
something.
I'm still. So
That's
I'm
right.
studying English.
That's
Okay.
right. That's the implication that this action is going on still right now, and in fact, it's implied that it at least has the potential to continue into the future. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, you gave another example, and that's fine. Okay. Let's move on. Slightly different, really kind of the same, but slightly different usage. We want to talk about something recent or lately. Okay. You can also use present perfect continuous without a duration or a time phrase, you know, like for 2 weeks. Without the duration, there's a subtle implication, there's an idea that you mean lately or recently. Now, to make it clearer, it would always be better to use the actual adverbs, lately or recently, and that would reinforce the idea. But if you totally, even without using the adverb, if you use a present perfect continuous without such a phrase, such a time phrase, like since or for 13 years or since, that it would be implied, the listener would assume that you meant recently. So, for example, well, recently I've been feeling really tired. Okay, so we can use it that way without any specific duration of time in the near past. Okay, she's been watching too much television lately. Have you been exercising lately? Ooh, you look good. Okay. All right, here's an example without an adverb to clarify it. Mary has been feeling a little depressed. All right, the common enough sentence here. There is definitely an implication that Mary hasn't, we're not saying Mary's been depressed all her life. It's very clearly implied that recently Mary has been feeling depressed. That's the idea I'm trying to get across. Lisa has not been practicing her English. Okay. Implied recently for some reason. And very common when you meet somebody. All right. When I meet you, whatever, in class, for example, you may notice when a teacher greets you in class, I might say, how are you? I might say, how have you been, or how have you been doing, especially if I haven't seen you for a while, a little while. So there's some element of duration. If I haven't seen a student for 2 weeks, I would greet them with, how have you been doing? Or what have you been doing lately? This is actually very, very common. So, you know, students that I see every single day or many classes a day, I would probably never say this because there's really been no duration to speak of, more like repeated actions. But a student I haven't seen for a while, this would be very, very common. Important note before we practice, we will practice, but important thing, because you're dealing with implications, implied information. So, as an example, if you were to say, have you been feeling all right, present perfect continuous tense, with no time phrase, there's an implication that you mean recently. So, using logic, you looked all right before, but lately you don't look all right. So you're suggesting that the person looks sick or unhealthy. Have you been smoking? Suggests that recently, all right? It isn't like, do you smoke or have you smoked before? This is have you been smoking? Obviously, you're asking if they've been smoking recently. It makes an implication or a suggestion that maybe you smell smoke on the person. Okay, so using this tense suggests you can see, smell, hear, feel the results of the action. All right, it is possible to insult somebody by implying that they've done something. You're implying that they've done something that they in fact haven't done. Of course, they may be insulted. Okay, so you have to remember that. Again, the strong implication of recently. All right, let's try this. Let's try it in a sentence. You can use lately or recently or not, as you see fit. A negative, positive, question, whatever you want to try. Mustafa, why don't you go first again? Give it a shot.
Okay. I wanna make it like this. I have been skipping a lot of classes recently.
Okay.
A lot of your classes recently.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
I was trying to say, to be honest with you, I was trying to say, Teacher Oakley, have you been eating a lot? So
Have I been eating a lot? Why do I look
yeah.
fat? Actually, and that would be a very common interaction. I think that actually, thank you. That illustrates my point right there. Have you been eating a lot? Why do I look fat? Okay, the person may be offended by that. I'm not really. Yes. Yesterday I took the day off. I did nothing but watch movies and eat.
like a couch potato.
Yes. Yesterday I was eating all day. I have been eating all day. Well, I have to use. See, yesterday is done. Yesterday I ate all day because there's no
Actually,
no relationship to now.
Actually, it's just not about the amount of food you eat, it's about the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Must be healthy.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mom. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and that's fine. I've been skipping a lot of classes recently. Frank, you want to give this a try?
Frank have been
What?
Frank have been getting the ball rolling on this project since he graduated from school.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting sentence, Frank. Frank, first of all, first thing I'm concerned about is the auxiliary here.
Had been.
Well, yeah, it has to be has.
Has.
Yes, Frank, he has. Okay. All right, Frank has been getting the ball rolling on this project since he graduated from school. Technically, grammatically speaking, that is correct. It's a little odd, though, Frank, I have to say, because of the use of this idiom. I actually don't think I've ever seen this idiom used with a continuous form before, because to get the ball rolling, this idiomatic expression means to start something. So it's a little strange. It is possible. It's not wrong per se. It's just a little odd to say you are starting something and use duration or continuous or progressive tense. You know, unless you want, I have been starting this project for 3 months. Sounds weird, right? I mean, sounds a little odd.
Like something special.
Yeah, well, you start something, you start it. Usually, to start something isn't something that you want to take a lot of duration. Okay, it's so. All right, he's been getting the ball rolling for a long time. You know, the idea, Frank, what I would imply from this, I would imply that Frank maybe is not very good at starting this project because it takes him a long while just to start. I would imply something negative about Frank if I was the listener. Okay,
And just for an example.
Just, you know.
Yeah. Example sentence.
Yeah. Okay. So here, you know, right. Maybe maybe instead of emphasizing, remember what we said about little Johnny, all right? Instead of emphasizing the long time it took him to start, why wouldn't you would probably just use,
gotten.
Yeah, a regular present perfect has gotten the ball rolling. There. Now you're emphasizing, all right, he started the project. That's a little better. Emphasizing the result, not really the verb.
So a lot better.
Okay, right. Okay. Okay. And the other thing to notice here, which I don't think anybody's done so far, he's using actually he's using a whole other clause, not just a simple time phrase, to show the duration or show that something started earlier. And that's okay. You can do that. Okay. Don't know if this really has the implied. I don't really know when you graduated from school. I'm not sure if this implies any kind of recent development or lately. This more follows use number one. Honestly, that's the other thing. It doesn't really imply that this was recent.
Or since he got this task.
Well, okay. How about since he recently graduated from school? There. Now that would definitely imply recent development. Okay, Mark, do you want to give this a try?
Yeah. I have been trying to brush up on my English lately.
Mm-hmm. You guys are full of idioms and interesting idioms and phrasal verbs today. Okay. Now, my English. I can't even spell it. Okay. My English. Okay. I don't think that you even need to say lately. In this would very clearly, to me, because of the words, what it means, I've been trying to brush up on my English. When you brush up on something, you review it and try to remember things that you learned before. The very concept itself is usually something you do in the near past to prepare.
What about if I add, for example, what about if I add, since I'm going to the U.S. next?
Oh,
No.
okay. All right, let's look at that. That's a good idea. Well, there you go. Very good. Very much this would imply recently, and even he's giving another reason. Since I am going to the U.S. next month, or since used as a subordinator, since because I am going, that's his plan in the near future. Yeah, that's a great sentence. That's very normal. Everything's there. He's got a plan in the near future. So recently he's been trying to brush up, taking some time, continuous time to brush up. That's a very, very good example, actually. Great. Xingyu, you want to give it a shot?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear the echo?
No echo.
Oh. I have been tired because of too much work.
Okay. Okay. Wow, what have you done here? I have been tired. Okay. Tired here is an adjective. The tired man. Xingyu, the tired man. Okay, here you're using present perfect only. And actually, that's an excellent segue to my next point. Why did he do this? Well, I'll tell you why, because you can't do this. I have been being tired. Actually, completely wrong. So there are cases where we want to show a continuous action, either recently or for a specific time, as in our use 1 and use 2. Xingyu correctly formed his sentence without using present perfect continuous, instead just present perfect, because, and I don't know if you did that on purpose, but this is the very next thing I wanted to talk about, because some verbs in English are not just, they're non-continuous verbs, and or there are mixed verbs, which is to say, a non-continuous verb cannot be used in a continuous tense. Also, some verbs are mixed verbs. One meaning can be used with a continuous tense, and another meaning of the same word, the same verb, cannot be used in a continuous tense. So instead of using present perfect continuous, even though we want to show that it's a continuous action, we have to use present perfect. Basically, to say it another way, some dynamic verbs that show action, running, jumping, swimming, obviously they can continue for a period of time. Other kinds of verbs are stative, or a verb with a stative meaning in a mixed verb. Okay, the state something is in, like being. All right, he can't be being tired. He's in a state of tiredness. That's not a dynamic action. There's no movement going on there. He's just being tired. So when we have these stative meanings, we can't use continuous. Instead, we just use regular present perfect. Another example. Sam has been having his car for 2 years. Okay, ownership. That's a state. The state of being possessed by something, or someone, rather. Okay, this, you can't do it. You just plain can't do it in English. Instead, you have to revert to has had. The verb have, the main verb have, we're not talking about the auxiliary. The main verb have here, non-continuous. It's stative. If I say I am having a party next weekend, Okay, that means I'm hosting a party. That's a dynamic action, and that's perfectly okay. Same thing, verb to be. The children are being bad. They're acting bad. Acting, in that case, being is dynamic. It's okay to use a continuous tense, and this goes for all continuous tenses, not just present perfect continuous, but present continuous, past continuous, future perfect, whatever. There are some verbs that cannot be used with any continuous tenses or forms of a verb, meanings of a verb, rather. Okay, so that's important to note. One more thing. We also have some example. There's 4 verbs that are commonly used. It really doesn't matter. Learn, teach, not teach, teach, work, and live. These are 4 verbs that are kind of exceptional in English because we can use them speaker's choice or writer's choice. It's your choice. You can use either form. You can use a continuous form, or you can revert back to a simpler form. In other words, I can use present perfect instead of present perfect continuous. I can use simple past instead of past continuous with any of these 4 exception words. And it still has the idea that this action took time. Because think about it, all of these verbs are things that take time. You don't teach somebody in a second. None of these are an instant action, ever. So these 4 words, regardless of the usage, can be used either way, really. They're exceptions. So if you run into these 4 verbs and it's very questionable about the verb tense, well, probably the problem is that it's one of these, they're exceptions. Crazy English exceptions. So it would behoove you, gentlemen, to actually remember that. These are much more versatile.
So, teacher, so we can use them with the present perfect and present perfect continuous, right?
Yeah.
Simple
So
and
in other words, I have worked at Verbling for 2 years. I have been working at Verbling for 2 years. Have exactly the same meaning.
Okay. So, teacher, I have a question for you, please. Like the sentence of Zinio, like he said, I have been tired. I think for 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at it here. Yep.
Because of too much work. Yeah, because of too much work. So now, if you want to like change this active sentence to passive voice, how can we change it? I know it is not our subject. I know, but it's because of tired. Like in my state, I will use like I have been feeling tired because of too much work.
Okay.
So I can change it easily to passive. So now how can I change it?
Good question. Okay. I don't know. It's hard to change these linking verb type sentences. Work. No, I don't know how to do it. Has made me tired, but no, then that's still an active sentence. There's no object noun here, really. Not truly. So I don't know how you would change it to passive.
Okay.
Work was tiring me. I don't know how you would do it, frankly. But we're going to move on to passive tense in just a moment.
Okay.
Well, right now, as a matter of fact. Okay, after I don't think you can do it because simple sentences like the sky is blue, how do you make it passive?
You cannot.
Yeah, you can't, really. So these kinds of sentences that have no object noun, there's just no way to do it. You can't say the sky was being blue. No. Well, even that's active, but you still can't do that either. Okay, adverb placement, just a quick note on that, and then we'll look at passive. These kinds of adverbs that show time or frequency, always, only, never, ever, still, just. Notice the placement. There are times when you can put them in different places in the sentence, but this is the safest thing to do. Put them right here. Again, after that first all-important auxiliary, you have only been waiting here for 1 hour. You know, if I move only you have been waiting here for 1 hour. Only you, by yourself, no one else. It changes the meaning completely. So if you want this to act on the verb, waiting, then this is where it belongs. Okay. Have you only been waiting here for an hour? Okay, really the same placement here in the question form, just obviously with the first auxiliary and the subject noun reversed. All right, just quick note about that because these are commonly, very common adverbs used to show frequency. Now, I have to tell you, some of the more complex verb tenses, passive form is rare. Present perfect continuous in the passive form would be very rare. Usually, there's another way to say it. But, just so you guys can recognize it, okay, this is what it's going to look like. Active sentence, which is what we've been looking at today, all active sentences. Recently, John has been doing the work. Great. Fine. If we want to make that a passive, then in a passive sentence, we don't really care who does the action. In a passive sentence, the action happens to the subject noun. So, for example, recently, the work has been being done by John. A little wordy, a little too many words and complicated, but it is possible. Passive structure, as always, works like this. Always the main verb is going to be the past participle. Every passive form for every verb tense always uses past participle. Okay, all of the auxiliaries before that are what indicates the actual verb tense. So has been, and then using the form of the verb to be, which goes with the auxiliary verbs. This is what shows. This is what shows the actual present perfect continuous. So this is a passive present perfect continuous. Has been being. Obviously, we already said has been being. Xinyu has been being tired. Cannot be done. It can only be done this way. These words can only go together in a passive form. All right, and then being here is an auxiliary to done. It's a helper verb. It's not the main verb. So this is okay. Again, not exactly the most common verb tense, but it does exist. Just for the fun of it, Just for the fun of it, Mustafa, you want to try creating a passive present perfect continuous?
Okay, recently I have been being being now I need past participle, right?
Yeah. Well, you need a a main verb here now.
Yeah, yeah. I have been being
Played?
played with my group of friends, something like that.
Here. Here, I'll give you a different one.
With my
I've been being
what?
played with by my girlfriend. Well,
With why? With why is weird.
okay,
Make
she is doing the action. She is messing with your mind. She is lying to you. She is manipulating you. We can say that he's playing with me. He's manipulating me. He's trying to trick me. Okay, that's possible. But it's played with, probably. That is possible. Now, okay, that is actually a reasonable, believe it or not, a reasonable sentence there. It actually makes perfect sense. Frank, you want to give it a try?
I have been talking with this group.
Okay, well, that's not... Okay, that's an active sentence. Okay. Now, remember that in a passive sentence, the action would happen to you. I have been being talked to by this group. Okay? So the action would happen to you. I have been being. It's always I have been being. Right? Have or has. Okay. Not being, like a bee. And then the main verb is always in a passive. Always, always has to be past participle. And then it wouldn't, then we have to change the preposition by this group. I have been being talked to by this group. See, I've changed it to a passive. Now the action happens to you. Okay? Frank, do you see how I changed the construction?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Zinga, you want to give it a try? Zinga? Still there?
Missing.
Missing. What happened to him? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. The connection has been kicking Zingu out of the group. There you go. Okay.
And the sentence being played with your girlfriend.
Yes.
It seems a little bit erotic.
Ha! It could be. That shows how your mind worked, Frank. I wasn't thinking of it that way, but yes, that can have erotic meanings, but it can also mean that somebody's... the idea like a cat plays with a mouse. They're torturing you. There's also that other meaning that if somebody's playing with you, they're just manipulating you for their own entertainment. Definitely in a negative way. As opposed to erotically, which would probably be considered positive. Yeah. Like a cat plays with a mouse. There's nothing erotic about that.
But a lot of people will misunderstand.
Well, people with dirty minds, Frank. What do I care? I don't mean it that way, so.
But it seems to be that way.
To you, because you're a pervert. I'm kidding you, Frank. I'm joking. Anyway, thank you, everyone. We are out of time. Time to go. Hope you learned a little bit about this verb tense. I'll be back tomorrow with the past perfect continuous. Bye-bye.